I practiced architecture for a good 20 years or so, and insisting that we have to do change through what we're doing in these designs. And in every project you encounter the same problems. The context, in order for them to change and to build some competitiveness, they need good ideas. But not only good ideas, but good ideas that make money, okay, for them, from their perspective. They need good qualified supply of designers. They need to have some credible professional weight behind whatever they do, because they don't have that. And now they have to compete internationally, but they have to have some international brand equity behind them. As designers, what do we need? We need a process to qualify us, to understand and to be able to deal with and dialogue with industry. We need to develop our international outlook, because we are dealing with an international market. We're not dealing with just a local market. We are competing internationally with our ideas. We need protection for our ideas. We need the market, the society to appreciate the fact that this is the capital asset of a designer, and this has to have protection, just like money in the bank has to have protection. And we need to be able to afford to stay as designers. If I want to be a designer, I don't have to be a producer, I don't have to be a marketeer, I don't have to be a whole lot of other things simply to see my ideas come to reality. I need to be a designer. And accordingly, we can't do that without the political infrastructure working with us and allowing us, or creating the context that allows us to do that. So what we really need to do now, if we're faced with that problem, this is a stage where, on a personal note, I started to think, okay, let's move from the position of changing through designing and look at the bigger picture and intervene in the bigger picture and see if we can work on that missing link between design and industry. And that's what I've dedicated in my last 10 years in trying to work on that link. Created that firm called Rimal, which is a design management firm whose mission is to experiment and work around working on developing that link between design and industry. Accordingly, we have to work on several fronts. We have to develop awareness. We have to work on the level of the community awareness, on the industry awareness, and create forums for discourse. And accordingly, we had to publish a magazine, and we started a series of design management courses where we didn't need to continue with that, with the GUC coming on board. That became available. But we address, again, industry needs. So we're trying to create alternatives for industry itself to upgrade its capabilities. And the other challenge that we have to concentrate on is creating a competitive business model for industry. Industry has to see how design can make good business sense, how they can make money out of it. So someone has to do it for them and show them and prove it that it can work for them. It doesn't have to simply work for the individual who creates a shop for himself and a little workshop and builds his own stuff. We worked on sectorial level to raise awareness within a sector, and then we moved on to working with individual companies who realized from their sectorial experiences what they have to do. And on a national level, again, we try to contribute in rebranding. And that's what we need to do as a nation, to rebrand some national sectors. So, I'll quickly run through some of these ideas, and then we can have a discussion on them, on some of the activities that we have concluded in the last 7 years or so. Magas came out in 2008, and it started to develop this new path between a dialogue, a forum for discourse between designers, between designers and industry, between design and the community. And it was attempting a difficult task of talking about design and design thinking more so than specific design field. And it worked well for a while in achieving that. Then we found in the furniture sector a ready partner in terms of them realizing that they've reached their limits in exports and they cannot break that ceiling, because what they're really exporting is the capacity to produce for others. They are not exporting products of their own. Most basically 90% of our production, our exports in furniture are manufactured for others. You can't break that ceiling, because then we have the advantage only of being close to Europe, of being able to work on small volume orders, which the Chinese cannot do. That's what they employ us for. But once they want big orders and stuff like that, they go somewhere else. That was why that industry, the sector, was sort of ready to hear about, okay, what do we need to do to break that ceiling in terms of being able to produce our own products. So we designed for them and worked with them on what we called the design and industry workshops, where we brought international designers, but then we had the condition that yes, international designers you need, because you want to introduce the international language into your design language. However, sustainability depends on having Egyptian designers, young Egyptian designers, being the ones who continue that path, and having we apprenticed with the group of international young Egyptian designers, and they partnered with participating companies to work on, basically they brainstormed on ideas that would talk to an international market, produced with the resources of these companies, and that have their roots in an Egypt story. That was the design brief. The brainstorms became the key advantage of that, okay? That diversity of these minds coming together produced at the end basically what came out to be 7 different approaches to what an Egypt story can be, and then we branded that and we tested it in the international market in Milan with a new Egypt booth that represented a new brand representing design in Egypt and manufacturing in Egypt. And the idea, the feedback from industry, from media, was quite astounding in comparative to past years. That the sector started to take note that there is something happening. Design does make a difference, and the political infrastructure started to take note about that as well. That same year, or the following year, we tested it on the local market, and because they took notes, they started to say, okay, we need more, and this is the point where we introduced the design management courses, which were courses that were designed to help people in industry and working with industry to deal with the bigger picture of what do we do to design for production. The interest was continued, and we created the second round where we took the products into a more, the product design briefs into a more focused approach, trying to create something that can be marketed, as opposed to the first year where we were interested mainly in the conceptual dimension. And again, there was another group of 4 designers, internationals, and about 30 Egyptian designers and 16 companies that were involved in this exercise, and they produced a whole series of products. This momentum created interest with the political infrastructure, so that the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Culture took note, and they said, okay, something must be happening, and let's invest in design. And this was the birth of the first Egypt design event, Design Week event. So this was a week-long of activities that was organized in Muez Street, in Islamic Cairo, and bringing together diversity of international design and local design and design activities down to the community, trying to interact with the community and to bring dimensions of what design can bring, playing with the contrast of our history and our future. And there were other activities like design markets, design talks, street workshops, activities on the street where we engaged people, fashion design with spaces, organized student design activities as well, workshops on lights and crafts and so forth. That was in 2010. Unfortunately, of course, we had to stop. The momentum had to be halted through the last 2 years because of the 2011 revolution. And we started picking up again, trying to rebuild momentum with the design industry competition, which was organized the last summer well, no, not summer, it was November, I think. Step towards linking designers with industry, where the designers came up with the ideas, they submitted to our competition, and the winning ideas got the chance to be featured, to get a booth of their own in Fairlinks, where we had the first sort of exposition of designers to industry. They're selling to industry their ideas. They're selling themselves as idea producers to industry. So this fair that was designed there had that objective. And we linked the designers with companies that sponsored the prototyping of the products that they produced during that fair. And I'm happy to say that we selected a group of 5 participants who were given golden awards. They're on their way to Milan now to participate in the Salon Satellite in the Milan International Fair with these ideas. We've been able to, through the efforts of the Egyptian Furniture Export Council, to get a special booth for Egyptian young designers in that international fair, and the stuff is shipped there to be presented to an international audience. Again, it's that. Again, these are not volume activities, but these are individual activities that are trying to grow to the industry or showing to industry by actual activities that it is doable, that they can invest in design and make a difference and create an impact. As a final note as well, to end my presentation, I just explored that because of that momentum, some companies started to realize, okay, yeah, something is happening. We are not structured to do that. What do we do? How do we deal with designers? How do we integrate design thinking? How do we integrate innovation in our way of doing things? And accordingly, we've been asked to work with individual companies on creating that link, on getting them through that threshold of integrating design and innovation into their ideas, into their production processes. They are not structured to deal with it. So it's not a question of having a new product idea, but it's also having the infrastructure to sustain innovation as a whole. we worked with Naviga to create an innovation lab within the company to change the company mentality internally. We worked on integrating design thinking in process and product dimensions. I'm happy to say that they have participated this year in Orgatech fair in Milan with a new line of products, with a new brand as well. And they actually won an innovation award with their efforts. It's an Egyptian company that made an impact. It was a hit of the show, which was very unexpected. But it's an example of how on a smaller scale, another company, Al-Khazar, also had worked with on breaking that threshold. We're working with other sectors as well. The marble sector and the textiles are other sectors. We've started to see what is happening at the furniture sector and say, okay, we're having problems of our own. Let's discuss how to deal with them. An interesting experience is with Damietta. Damietta is responsible for over 80% of Egyptian furniture exports, mostly in the classical sector. But what they actually export is mostly raw furniture that the Italians or the French finish and upholster and resell it as Italian and French made for 6 to 10 folds the price. So we totally lose on the added value. So we're working with one of the major exporters right now on changing that and them entering directly to the B2C market and having their brand as being recognized as a respectable, worthy international brand as well. The same company has developed or wanted to create a modern line that works, that utilizes their craftsmanship capabilities and resources in a modern language, but that's another experiment that is currently underway. And this is another Damietta company as well. And as well in other sectors, even the service sector now has realized that, and we're developing a concept for an auto care concept for a total auto care system in the service industry. I think I took a long time. Thank you very much for your attention. If anyone has any problems or questions, I'll be happy to answer.
You mentioned protection.
Yes.
Protection design. How could I protect
currently you can't really protect. Okay, you can. There are mechanisms instituted where on paper you can protect, but what it entails that if someone copies is that you have to go through the legal system and the lengthy process and whatever, and usually none of us has the time or stamina to do that, okay? Effectively, we can protect, but we can scare, okay? But you can scare people more if, again, you're a collective. The whole idea of these efforts is one of the important benefits of that experience with the furniture sector is that we obliged all companies to sign a tripartite contract that for the first time included copyright protection for ideas and royalty fees for the designers. Industry never did that before. We had in this experience at least 60 or 65 companies that ended up signing such contracts. Now they've accepted it. It becomes acceptable for them to say they know what the copyright is, and they know that if they infringe this contract, yes, we might not be able to sue them, okay, but we can blackball them. we can make a big fuss
Yeah.
and publish in the magazine and say, hey, this guy stole an idea, that sort of thing. Yeah? Other designers start saying, hacking them and stuff. Okay? But then you have pressures that build. But you can do that when you have a collective.